I have Colin Thomas from Essential Maintenance and WeWillFixIt Dubai right here in the Epic Podcast Studio at the Royal Hotel. We're talking DIY. That's where we're going today. And who knows where it'll take us. We're both looking at the notes on our phones. And I'm hoping that you've got some tips for us on how to create the fantastic backyard obstacle course / fun mutter, whatever it's called, place of applied exercise.
Well, you know what? To be honest, having just had an enormous sneeze fit in the car, I'll just be over the moon if I can manage some words. Whether they're as eloquent as explaining a personal fun matter is probably a step beyond. But we'll see where we go, as always.
You notice these days how few people you meet who are sneezing or coughing.
It's true.
It is. I mean, where was I the other day? I was at Expo and we're walking around Expo. We're doing the Expo thing. No one's sneezing. I mean, everyone's got masks on.
Yes.
Some people have got the chin diaper on, but for the most part, people are wearing masks. No coughing, no sneezing.
That's fascinating because we've never been healthier.
I know.
And that's what the pandemic does to you, isn't it?
It does.
It makes you so aware that all of a sudden, all those little sniffles and whatever else, you've kind of eliminated from your life.
The other thing that I noticed, and if you just sit around and, so we're at the Rove, go and sit down in the lobby of the Rove. And the beauty of the lobby of the Rove is it is full of sofas. So people are hanging out.
Naturally distanced, which is just great.
So
it always was.
So there's the naturally distanced part, which is beautiful. Just watch people. No one's touching their faces anymore.
Yeah.
And that thing where people would bite their nails, and it's really significantly reduced. People aren't scratching their eyes like they used to and rubbing their noses. All of these other things have, possibly because we don't have as many colds and stuff at the moment, where we've really changed our physical behavior. And all of that, I think, snowballs into we don't get as many colds, we don't get as many flus, etc.
I think you're right. However, it didn't explain my sneezing fit,
did it? Then when you sneeze, and that being said, my wife had a coughing fit last night in the middle of the night. She wakes up just coughing galore. And those sneezing fits, yeah. Who knows?
Very odd.
But when they happen, they happen.
They do. And I was fully aware of it. And streaming from all directions and wondering whether I was even going to make it in here. So I'm kind of proud of myself for just being here. I haven't done anything useful, but I'm here.
You'll remember some weeks ago, we were talking about a said neighbor around the area where I live who installed the double garage door opener.
Oh, yes.
One that slides and one that swings. Car still parked outside.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's lunacy.
I
did from an engineering direction. That ain't working.
I waved him down the other day, and I just did that. We gave him hey, what's going on? He goes, no, one side opens. Do you want to see? And I was like, I want to see your car going in. And he said, I've got to sync them up. I've got to sync up my motors, so it's not ready yet.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, isn't it? Both technologies exist. And he's got both technologies, but they just have never been synced together.
Yeah.
Lunacy.
Well, I figure he's going to have 2 garage door openers on his visor.
Well, yes, that's the only way that I can see that it would work. But then the risk of damage is quite dramatic for both car and collision between doors, I would have thought.
It's going to be interesting.
It is. It's going to be fascinating. And I hope you video it when it happens.
I'm waiting. I mean,
the grand unveiling. And the difficulty is going to be, we all know what's going to happen on the video, which is when it goes wrong, the video is going to jiggle up and down because you're desperately trying to stifle your laughter.
I really do hope he gets this to work. Like, that's the thing. I really do hope. But all of the things we spoke about, and this is part of the problem of hiring a jobber.
Yes.
And this isn't even in the notes, but we've talked about this before.
Yeah, many times.
And it's easy to pay peanuts to get someone to come in and do some work around your place.
Yeah.
As soon as you do that, you face the slight problem that the person who's doing the peanut work doesn't actually know what they're doing. They may be good at installing a socket. They may be good at replacing, a light fixture.
Yeah.
But are they good at the technicals? And for the most part, those not necessarily.
Yeah, the other thing from that project is Simplification.
Simplification. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Go. Explain.
Well, he's got two different technologies,
Yeah.
both of which were not suitable individually for the task that he was doing.
Yeah.
In which case, you find a new technology that will work. You know, it's perfectly possible to find a door opener rather, that uses two tracks because it's a very large door and is designed to work in the required method for the size that he had. Instead, he went for two separate technologies that somehow or other he's going to try and blend together. You know, if you stick to one kind of simple, alternatively, one track, heavy duty with a heavy duty motor on it. If you do that, you're absolutely fine. We've got an enormous industrial steel gate on the entrance to the car park for RHQ. There is no way that that's not heavier than whatever he would need from a domestic perspective. And that would have worked fine. Total cost to us, about 2,400 dirhams to get the actual motors there working and reliable. So I just think there was another route that would have just been simpler and more effective. And it's amazing how often with DIY that's actually the case. Yeah. You know? So
or maybe this door system, because one side is a slider, one side is an open. You couldn't put a complete slide in because then it would block an entrance door, which is a problem.
But even moving an entrance door is remarkably easy.
Well, I figured either move the entrance door or just change it so both doors swing open.
Yeah, that's perfectly feasible. I mean, all it is literally a ram on each side, and the doors can easily do that. There's no reason why that would be a problem.
Since one of them's already got that system put onto it, you basically change the door. It's going to cost you a little bit for the repurposed door, but it's going to work.
Yes, it will. But I mean, that's often one of the things that we preach to our guys is before you take on any job, you need to have thought through the entire process of how you get from the start to the finish so that before you're committed, you're very clear that this is a job that we can complete with all the parts that you've already got. Yeah. If you don't do that, you will suddenly find in the middle of a job that you're stuck. Yeah. And at that point, we as a company are committed, you as an individual are committed, and we have to scramble. At that point, there's no point us being there because we're not going to make any money on the job anyway. Yeah. So trying to get them to understand that as a process is something that is a constant battle.
You must deal, because I see these cards on my door all the time. You must deal with this often, and some of your guys, or not your guys, but there are other maintenance companies out here. Yeah. And the guys have been working for a while. They're fairly competent, and then they figure, you know what, I'm just going to go out on my own. Yeah. And print up 2,000 cards, go and plop them in people's doors. It's around where they live, and you know what? I can give you the basic service. Except they forget that they're going to now have to source their stuff. They're going to have the tools, and inevitably they're going to reach a system or a situation where they can't actually do all the work. And that's where, in the context of a larger organization like yourselves, you can make a phone call and you've got backup.
Yeah, well, there is that. There's also the other side, which is insurance.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who work without insurance.
Exactly. And then in that situation, the homeowner's got a scenario where they either deal with that and accept that risk, or alternatively, they spend their time going through the courts because their house is burnt down. And I've seen that. I mean, that's happened. In the time that we've been operating, I've seen that maybe 8 or 9 times. Wow. Actually, there was 3 on our Wassel Road in the space of 6 months, which is just incredible, all maintenance related. Huh. But I'd say once a year we see burnt out outdoor units for ACs that we're there to look at. And
what if you got a burnt out AC unit? That means it's all got to be replaced.
Yeah, but then think about the roof itself. At that point, if you've had a large amount of heat going through concrete, at that point, it doesn't have its material strength to the same degree anymore. And secondly, you have a waterproofing issue. So it becomes bigger than just an AC. Yeah. And that's a real pain for people.
Yeah. Oh no, that's awful. That's terrible. I want to jump into some of the stuff that I fired in the notes, but I got one before we get to the notes.
Cool. Okay.
So I've been watching the guys working around me. Actually, this is kind of the coolest thing. The power went off in our place the other night. Oh. Just suddenly went out. And, it's kind of like that thing, go and check the box.
Yeah.
Outside my place. Okay, it's kind of weird. It's like a lot of fuses blew at the same time. So I go check the box. No, everything is where it's supposed to be. Poke my head out the door. you start to realize how many people have things that operate off battery or are solar. They've got to charge, because there was a fair amount of yard lighting on.
Yeah.
But there's everyone walking out on the street doing the same thing, checking the neighbors.
Okay.
And then the DWA SWAT team showed up.
Yes.
And those guys, it was, it couldn't have been more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the DWA SWAT team was in the neighborhood. These guys flashing lights, driving like maniacs, checking boxes.
There's another potential scenario here. There's obviously the scenario that the DWA guys were working on some of their substations.
Yeah, clearly.
They sent a pulse down the line.
That's exactly what happened.
And suddenly had that moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what happened.
I'm thinking that's what happened too, because we have a few occasions, both at the old place and the new place, where we have the emergency. We pay the additional for the super fast DWA guys.
Oh.
Yeah, well, as a business, you have to do that if you want to be operable. And within 4 hours, the DWA guys show up. So 10 minutes suggests that they were in the area anyway.
And I mean, they were flying to get places. So anyway, what happens is clearly something happened on these lines. Next thing I know, a tractor shows up and it's digging up a field because they're accessing something. It's the DWA tractor.
Wow.
With 6 guys digging up this area where there's underground cabling that they had to fix because something went. Who knows what? But that's where the interesting side comes, because that's where I was watching the guys on these, they had a Kubota, they had a backhoe, they had a lot of cool equipment that and the guys who were using them were very skilled, because I was watching them do this in the dark with, basic lighting. And I thought, where can you get some skill and training in the UAE to run a backhoe, to run a little Kubota?
We've talked about this numerous times.
I know. Has anything changed?
No, big boys' toys. That's in the UK. This is kind of a thing that you do on stag do's.
Yeah.
So you'd go to these locations, and it would be, get this dirt from point A to point B. Here's your equipment. Off you go. And there's nothing here. And
is it insurance that's stopping it from being here?
I don't know. I just don't know on that one.
Because you can regulate these things. You can put regulators in. You can put limiters on everything.
Oh yeah, and you normally there's isolators, and you've got somebody who actually knows what they're doing that is there with a kill switch.
Yeah, exactly.
In case it's all gone a bit wrong.
I saw them doing the big boy toy experience one time, and I don't know if it was at Global Village or it was in relation to something that was going on. Yeah, but I've only seen it once.
Yeah,
and I thought
that could work really well, couldn't it?
Yeah, we need to explore this. As we put it out on the podcast, of course.
Yeah, well, we haven't ruined it, have we? No, it's not as though we've told anyone. It's one of those, isn't it?
So there's no way I can do it.
No, not I know of. No, there was kind of discussions about it going on alongside X-Quad at some point.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything that's materialised. Yeah. It's a shame, though. Yeah. I'd like to do the one with, when you're walking in the airport and you look at all of the ridiculous machines that are helping get everything there. There was a guy once who was driving side saddle on this machine, which was one of the ones which has the rollers that spins around the big metal containers.
Yeah.
He must have been doing 60 side saddle. And I'm like, what a different experience it would be to be doing 60 miles an hour and sat sideways.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
There's all sorts of toys.
Other one that I really want to do is, on the golf greens, how they have those mowers with the 2 mowers and the 1 wheel on the back.
Oh,
so zero turns, aren't they? That's what cool.
I've done that.
Have you?
Yeah.
I worked
back in the day. I worked for a Parks and Recreation department in Ajax. Oh, yeah. And one of the jobs was, and actually that's where I got to play around with the backhoe. So, but I would mow lawns on the Toro, and we had a John Deere.
Toro. It's got to be a Toro as well.
So we had Toros, we had John Deere. The John Deere was a little more prone to breaking the rear axle because it was a little longer.
No surprise, the Toros rock.
And so we'd have the Toros, and oh man, so they were diesel, so you're running them full throttle all the time.
Yeah.
And you've got your little, forward back pedal, and you're just zipping around trees.
I paid to do that.
It was fun.
I bet it was.
It was fun.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
and you got your spring seat, so you're just going, and you got your hat on, you got your earplugs on, sunny, and you're just driving around and cutting lawns.
Have we taken a wrong turn in life here, James?
I'm thinking, working as a landscaper. I mean, that was the other thing. I remember we were putting in flower beds, and I was working with Dennis Savage. Wonderful guy.
Shout out to Dennis Savage.
And I wonder what Dennis Savage is doing now.
He's mowing lawns. He wasn't stupid. And he took the right turn in life.
So we were using, 4x4s, and we were making, planting beds, all cutting being done with a chainsaw.
No.
Because he said, you know what? It's the easiest tool to work with.
Yeah.
And we were using chainsaws and putting stuff together and putting the mulch in. And it was a great job.
That sounds incredible. Yeah. I used to mow lawns, actually, and around our neighbourhood. And my dad had this unbelievably old lawnmower, but it was so powerful. This is kind of probably something. So I must be here in the early 90s. And I reckon this was out of probably the late 60s. Mm-hmm. But what it meant was that the technique required to start this thing was unbelievable. It was spark plug out, blowtorch to heat up the spark plug.
Hold on.
And I'm doing this at 11, okay? So you take the spark plug out, put it in the blowtorch, on a holder.
How old was this lawnmower?
It's about 35 years at this point. Stick it back in, obviously at that time lead back on, and then to start it, the actual pull start, because it had so low compression after so long, you literally had a technique where you used your entire body and your arms being pulled at the same time just to get this thing to start.
Oh, man.
But the eureka moment where you started this thing was just worth it. I mean, it even had a magneto. That's how old this is. An M4 minor, no less, the Mountfield M4 minor. Not that I need to get out more. And I absolutely loved this thing. Anyway, and the whole neighborhood, it was a really good marketing tool because this thing was so loud that when I was mowing, it would remind people that they needed their lawns mowed. So, it would just be, there'd be no chance of anyone talking to me because it was that loud. However, there'd be just a wave from across the road, and I go and do that one next. And then I kind of work my way around the neighborhood doing it like that.
So when it would start, it would do the pop, 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 pop.
Yeah. And then you got to the stage, and it was another one where, because of the lack of compression low down, you absolutely nailed it the whole time. It was brilliant. Love that machine.
We haven't spoken in a few weeks. Shed done?
Oh, don't be stupid.
Did you get any work done on it?
Oh, I've done another coat on so after I sanded it, it basically soaked up every bit of preservative that I put. So I think I've got 4 coats on the front door now.
Okay.
So that's all been done. I've still got a little bit of trim and just one ceiling strip to do. But I mean, that's all around the back. So to all intents and purposes from the front side, it looks fine.
Okay.
So just don't go around the back. And if you do, you're trespassing, so get off my land. Yes. So it's been because the weather's so good at the moment. I've really been focused on cycle rides with the kids.
Okay.
And you know what? With kids, they just have that natural ability to find the spikes from the plants. So I'm spending my entire time doing puncture repairs at the moment because now that they've found an enthusiasm for exercise, I'm desperately trying to maximise it. But it does mean, I've got it down to like a Formula One art. I can literally do a puncture repair in under 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
Well, it's got to the stage where Dylan's doing about 4 in one inner tube. So
that inner tube's done.
Yeah, well, exactly. But then I found out that a new inner tube these days is only 20 dirhams anyway, and that's for a branded one. You can get it for 10 if you go for an unbranded one.
So you might as well just have a couple boxes of them.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I've done now because Amazon will do same-day delivery on one of these. I'm like, gotta be kidding me. So I've been spending all this time pit stopping with the tyres, and instead I could have done it in 5 minutes flat with just a new inner tube. So I'm going to do that from now on. And
that's the catch-22 of DIY, because the best time of year to do DIY projects is also the best time of year to be doing everything else.
Yes. Well, we did Expo. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But I finally got around. You mentioned you've been to Expo recently. Well, I finally got around to doing it last Friday. It's amazing.
It's huge,
doesn't it make you just ridiculously proud of this place?
It does.
And all of the talk beforehand of, is it going to be ready? And admittedly, they got an extra year out of it, but that's not the point. What they've created is magnificent.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody who's listening before the end of March, isn't it? Yeah. Please go. It's incredible. And the deal they've got now, which is 50 dirhams, and that gets you there until the end, however many times you want to go, is just nuts.
It's crazy.
It's brilliant. So I was so happy. And Dylan went again yesterday.
Okay.
And China Pavilion, he said, was just immense.
Yeah.
So he loved that.
Did he get to see the robotic panda? I missed the robotic panda.
He didn't talk about robotic panda. He talked about an amazing video with a young boy. He also talked about an amazing car, and they're going to make flying cars soon. And if there is one thing that Expo should be about, it's about expanding the minds of the next generation and motivating them to do even better. Well, they nailed it yesterday.
It's exciting.
And Dylan was in Colombia as well and just had an absolutely fantastic time there. Well, that's what it's about. My kids are now so enthused about Expo that I think we're going to be going on Friday and probably Saturday and Sunday as well.
Nice.
And yeah, it is. It's really important. I'm very, very proud of this place generally, as you well know. But I think Expo is just the best.
And
the
there's
UAE has.
great food there. I mean, we were there on the weekend as well, and we crossed paths. We were there. I think we were there on Friday as well.
Okay. Where did you eat?
So it was a barbecue festival.
No.
Yeah.
Well, last week, maybe perhaps the week before then, because we didn't have a barbecue festival.
It was just this weekend. I was just there.
No, we were the week before.
Oh, okay, you were the week before.
No, I've got it. Sorry, it must have been the Monday because it was half term.
Okay.
So yes, the Monday half term.
So we went on Friday, and it was barbecue festival. We got there early. There was no one there.
Yeah, that's a great thing, isn't it?
And Hill Country Barbecue, my favorite Texas barbecue joint from New York City, was set up.
And good.
It was just like eating at Hill. No. Granted, instead of having 20 things on the menu, they had 4.
That's fine.
But they had a nice smoked brisket.
Wow.
We
ate in Belgium.
The fries.
Not just the fries. Everything was just
the waffles,
incredible.
You had the whole thing.
No. We were kind of lunchtime. So what did I have? What did we have? Oh, I know what we had. We had the steak tartare to start, which was served Belgian style, which is totally different to anything I've ever eaten here. Because traditionally it's kind of really thin and then with an egg cracked over the top of it. They serve it almost like a corned beef style, which is apparently very local there. Many more pickles than you traditionally get, and it was phenomenal, absolutely amazing. And then I went for the stew. Oh my God, Natalie! Now it arrived, and it just looks like a normal stew. I took one taste, this big smile on my face, and just went, "Be quiet, taste that." And she was like, "Oh, okay, I'll take that back entirely," without a doubt. And then the leather as well, which is just the best thing to wash it all down with. And draft. Oh, my Lord. Draft rather than in a bottle. What a difference. But the nice thing was, in the morning, actually, we made a few errors along the way because we hadn't really we hadn't really spent the time to look beforehand. The morning was kind of spent trying to work out what the heck Expo was and how we were going to tackle it. And in effect, we kind of lost Dylan at that point. He was just following us. Yeah. So then lunchtime came and we realised that actually if we were going to engage him, there's the map, Dylan. These are the things we've all agreed we want to do. So you get us there. And we followed him for the afternoon. Well, at that point, he's absolutely bought into the concept. And we had a really great afternoon as a result.
Oh, man.
Kind of that left out, though. It set me right off in the right mood. Fun. And I've done it again, haven't I? I've gone way off topic.
Are you kidding? No, it's fantastic when you start looking around again at the expo and things that you just start, just looking at how they put stuff together, looking at how, you'll see things we talk about on this podcast all the time. Brickwork, married to carpeting, married to actual grass, married to seating areas, married to a variety of different shade covers.
The shade cover in Luxembourg. You see, so Luxembourg we went to because there was a big. Well, it's very much focused on the kids. The big thing is the slide that I guess is made in Luxembourg that goes down 2 stories. But it's so amazing. It's a stainless steel slide. Yet looking at it, I was like, oh my Lord, this looks. Right. It was steep as well. Yeah. And I was kind of worried about it with the kids. And I saw a couple of people come down and it wasn't, it was tame. And then I looked at it and they'd made the surface smooth yet with grip. So that way it was so well controlled that I was fine with the kids going down it and they had a whale of a time. They absolutely loved it. But again, the structure for that one was just like a stretched fabric for the main thing. And it was just brilliant. It's that variety that's just phenomenal, isn't it?
To me, that's the gold. I mean, it's great. I love finding out what different countries are doing and how they're doing it. But looking at how they've constructed their spaces, looking at how they're playing with temperature, looking at how they're playing with water. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that's come out of the expo is the amount of water fountains that are actually cool and available and there.
Yes.
And they're unobtrusive. Oh man.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very proud.
So speaking of the slide,
Yes.
Luxembourg, I was sort of looking in my backyard the other day and thinking, there's a lot of wasted space here. It would really, really be kind of fun if I had my own personal fun mudder.
Okay.
Or tough mudder, I think is what it's called. But I want it to be a fun mudder, not a tough mudder. And I thought, if anyone's going to guide us through what we might be able to do, it's going to be you. Oh, does that ever sound good?
Well, you know what? You actually sent me a really...
I sent you a link there.
Yeah.
Because I started looking. I'm thinking...
Well, you knew what I would do here. I'd say, don't be so ridiculous, James.
I know.
Get onto something that actually is going to happen, right? But then you sent through this link, and the link that you sent me was basically for a zip line.
A backyard zip line, yeah.
Yeah, no, but this isn't just a zip line. This is a 118-foot zip line, okay? So my outtake was, I was like, 118-foot zip line, first of all, for kids and adults. Okay.
I'm thinking, you have the adults over, you've got a few wobbly pops at a barbecue, and next thing you know, everyone's on that zip line.
Okay, James. Well, that's the worrying bit.
Over your pool.
Right. Now, at this point, I'm like, okay, well, if I was thinking about something that would be safe, this is going to be just ridiculously expensive. 517 dirhams, including delivery from abroad, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough, it's a month to get there. And then I started looking at it in more detail, okay? And actually, what they have provided is quite something. So a 304 stainless steel cable, which is kind of really decent quality cable there. And then I'm like, well, you're going to get wiped out, aren't you, when you get to the end of it? Well, no, they've actually got a brake system that's plausible as well.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So the way that they're planning to do their brake system is they have on the line, so going through the line, they have a solid rubber mass, which then has a bungee cord, which you're supposed to attach to something on the ground to slow you down.
Yeah.
Okay. So initially I was like, that's genius. What a clever system. But then I went back to kind of one of the fundamentals at the start, which was suitable for children and adults. Okay. So I then thought, well, you know what? Dylan's probably 30 kilos. I'm 107. So if you imagine that bungee cord and what we're trying to aim for here, we need something that's going to work between, 30 odd kilos and 107.
Yeah. You need some serious
I
bungee.
think the two options are either it stops Dylan dead, in which case he is flying off at a rate of knots because he's not attached to this in any shape or form. Or alternatively, I'm hitting whatever the other half of that object is. And I'm not sure I would know. The testing for this would be, right then, Danny.
You go first.
Yeah, you go first. Let's see where we're at. So it is actually looking quite plausible as a setup.
Doesn't it make you want one, though, in your yard?
No, not in the slightest.
Because I looked at it, the first thing I'm going, I want one of these.
Yeah, I know, you do that. You do that, but you're probably a little bit more active than I am and a little bit more.
I was thinking off the balcony, too. I was thinking, this would be nice to,
I don't know why you would just go for the balcony on the basis that you've got a roof.
I guess I got the ladder to climb up there. Yeah. Can you just picture it?
Yes, I can picture you doing that. That's the scariest thing. I can definitely picture you doing that, James.
I need to bean her onto the rope, though, because just in case.
I think that's the least of your problems if you're going off the roof. You've got that block system, which we've already said was a little bit risky on the basis it's designed for a 30-kilo child as well as an adult. But the feasibility is there. They have the strops to go round both objects at the start and the finish. The cable looks decent. They've got decent carabiner clips, and it shouldn't be horrifically difficult. What they didn't have was a tensioner, which is a little bit of a problem, to say the least. I think there are various ways that you could tension it. But again, if you were going at the angle that we're talking about from roof down to ground level.
Well, I also then thought, you see all sorts of people putting up shade structures and things. You could put a few poles in the yard.
You can, but again, those shade structures, I think, would need a little bit of additional reinforcement if you were planning to run this kind of thing. I mean, it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer some kind of triangulation on something like that. And really, my overall mantra is not only keep it simple, but over-engineer like you've never seen before.
Yeah. Well, because instantly when I was looking at this thing, and then I saw the price, then I just thought of your father-in-law. I said, I bet you he could get this going.
Oh, he definitely could.
I think he'd be into it.
Yeah, he would, but I think it would also take him probably months. If the shed's only to go by, Wazza would be well up for it, and a lot of expletives later. He would create something that was truly on a new level.
Yeah. All right. So I think we got an audience outside that is just talking.
How bizarre. I was wondering what that was. I thought I'd left my phone on again. So yes, I think that's feasible. Now, other bits and bobs. See, the nice thing now is because kind of tough mudders are becoming quite a thing.
Yeah.
There are various DIY kits so that you can practice at home, and they tend to do either elements of them. So whether or not it's kind of the big wall or the balance beam or the nets, for instance.
I'm thinking all three of those: the scaling wall, that kind of net thing that you got to
think about the space it takes. There's a lot of space required.
Yeah.
And also, how often would you really use it when you're not in competition?
Even just as a plaything, probably it would be really popular for the first month. Because you want your kids to get out there and get on it too. And
here's the thing. Actually, we've got a 2-in-1 here. If you were going to go off the roof, then you could actually have the scramble net going right up the side of your house.
What a great idea.
So 2-in-1 there.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm talking into the feasibility of this ridiculous.
This is a great idea.
No, it's nuts.
See, you bought into it already.
I think it's almost as nuts. Do you remember when you came up with the DIY roller coaster? Do you remember that one?
Oh, man, I'm still thinking about that.
I know, that's the problem. Dear listener, this man is nuts.
Imagine the DIY roller coaster off the roof.
Do you know, in a bizarre way, that's actually safer than what we're talking about. Because by its very nature, it should have wheels that will hold it to a track.
Yeah.
Unlike this, where it's just your hands on the handles that would supposedly hold you.
It says it it's Amazon. Dude, those guys don't lie.
Yeah, and neither do their Chinese suppliers.
500 dirhams, all in.
Yeah, I know, but they don't talk about how many fatalities they've already had, have they? But you know what? The thing that's really impressive, and what I was more impressed with was, that's James's nuts one. And then the next thing you put down was a flagpole.
So, you see, I'm thinking it's because it just came to mind. It's like, I got a couple of neighbors who've got nice flags on their roofs, and I was thinking, I wouldn't mind having a big flagpole in the yard.
Yes, well, you did.
Because then I can multi-purpose it.
We got a little bit of an idea of the scale of this flagpole by the name of the company that produces it, which is Yay Long Pole, right? How long is it? Oh, it's yay long, right? Did you know, James, that on the link you sent, the shortest length that they had for a flagpole was 100 feet?
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. It's incredibly long. And the other issue might be low-flying aircraft at 100 feet, because they have a 200-foot one as well.
I do live close to the airport. This might be an issue.
That's a way of getting good sleep.
Put a red light on top, though.
Oh, you need more than that, without a doubt.
Strobe.
Yeah, strobe for fog. Oh, my Lord. But I did like the idea of that. I mean, the logic's great, which is everybody needs a flagpole.
I think so.
Yeah, and a UAE flag, I mean, the cost of that UAE flag to be able to match, we're not talking a standard size UAE flag for National Day, are we?
No.
So that one is totally feasible, without a doubt. Obviously, we'd need a crane to be able to crane it over the top of the house.
Look, Hessa Street, I see cranes all the time. They're just sitting there at the side of the road.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that if I do get a crane, the guy's going to let me have a little go with it too.
Well, that's logical. I mean, after all, it is your house that they're climbing over the top of. Interestingly enough, I have a price on the crane for you.
Okay.
I think 110 would basically work for you. And currently I have that available at 650 dirhams only for 2 hours.
Oh, that's cheap.
I know it's cheap.
With an operator.
Yes, with the operator as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe that I'm finding some elements of feasibility in your
you found feasibility in everything. And because this is a heavy-duty flagpole, we might be able to even attach some of our zip line to it.
So now we're talking about zip lining from the top of our flagpole.
Well, at least part of it. You could, circular stair up part of it, and then off you go. Double 2 for 1. It's a twofer.
What about, at the in fact, we've got one of these up at Expo, which is one of those columns where they have the rotating...
Yes, the garden.
Yeah, the garden that goes up in the air, which we could see from Belgium. So I'm wondering why you would stop at a flagpole when you already have proof of feasibility of the airborne garden.
Yeah. I was just thinking the electricity to run that thing.
Oh, okay. So that one's not quite so feasible, you think, compared to a 200-foot flagpole. Or
but don't you want one?
line.
Like when you start thinking about a flagpole, don't you want one in your yard?
I want an airborne garden.
You want the airborne
Yeah, absolutely. Why would we have to settle for third best, as we've now realised it is?
Yeah, but in your neighborhood, you'd be first best, because does anyone have a flagpole? There might be rules in your neighborhood.
Well, do you know what?
You got no low-flying
rules are for
aircraft.
boring people.
You got no low-flying aircraft over your place.
This is true, yes. But at the same time, we've got no flagpoles either. Yeah. So therefore, they can, by all means, bring the planes if they want to, assuming I'm allowed my flagpole. That sounds like a fair scenario, don't you think? How do we end up here? This is all going very badly wrong.
Just think, with the flagpole, you could also attach lighting that goes across your yard. You got all sorts of options.
But you were just talking about the fact that power output might be a slight issue for the
LED.
airborne garden.
LED.
Oh, I take that back. That's a very, very clever thought.
Yeah. And I was thinking your yard, inspired by Expo, inspired by the Netherlands, because you've got all those different sails set up.
True.
You could actually project onto the top of those sails and create quite an interesting environment. And they do that in the Netherlands, where you go into this mushroom dome that they've created.
I bet it's a mushroom dome for the Netherlands.
We'll keep going. Not those kind of mushrooms. And they project.
We're projecting onto mushrooms, James.
No, they're projecting inside. You have umbrellas, and they're projecting onto the top of the umbrella.
Oh, okay.
So with the flagpole projectors, and I just saw them on sale right now. They've got these portable projectors. I saw it on Instagram. They're back. I don't know who makes them. It's name brand. And put those on the top, projecting some nice imagery onto your sails. You got to go for it.
So you're now thinking that we attach sail shades to the top of the flagpole?
You've got sail shades. So we use your yard as the tester. We put the flagpole in there.
Okay.
And away we go.
I'm just slightly, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just slightly concerned that the sail shades I have might not reach all the way up to 200 feet.
Yeah, with the sail shades are installed, you put the flagpole beside it, and then you got the projector
on.
Oh,
I get it. Projector on the flag. Oh, I feel so silly now, James. I've let myself down. I've let my parents down. But most of all, I've let my dogs down with my lack of understanding that the projector goes 200 feet up on the flagpole. Yes.
You can put it at any level. It's going to be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
See? Sounds cool, huh?
That sounds fantastic.
So do you think there's alternatives to the 100-foot flagpole manufacturer? Like, have you ever had anyone hunt down a flagpole?
You don't believe this, but in 193,000 jobs, nobody has ever asked me for a flagpole.
I'm going to call today.
I bet you would. I bet you would. You know, it isn't out of the realms of possibility that could be installed.
Yeah.
You've got that enormous one down the end of Alwassel Road, haven't you? It's Port Rashid.
Yeah.
I wonder how tall that one is.
I don't know.
Well, in the true Dubai tradition of ours will always be bigger and better, we need to know that.
Yeah.
And then we need to get on to Yowlong Pole to see whether or not they would be so kind as to send us one that's
a demo
least,
version.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be a demo version because we're not actually going to pay for it. That is at least 3 feet longer.
Speaking of interesting things, this is just a by the way. You ever go buy raw coffee? You know,
raw coffee?
Yeah.
Yes, I've actually on the occasion.
So, have you been there recently?
No.
Okay. So, have you been to their new place? Yeah.
No, I thought you meant as in the product raw coffee rather than the place raw coffee.
So, the product raw coffee, there's a place where they make, and they have a...
Yeah, I haven't been there, but I bought their products.
Oh, you've got to go.
Wow.
Especially because if you're on the road where it's to your right at the end, and this is just a random...
Where is it?
It is by Almanara, flyover by Almanara.
Oh, see, that would make total sense because I was at Bounce at the weekend with the kids.
It's really close to there.
Yeah, and they have raw coffee, so that's where I had the raw coffee last time. And it's stunning coffee.
Yeah. And they've got quite a variety. And,
wow.
Yeah, and you being the coffee connoisseur, you can go there and try stuff. But this has got nothing to do with raw coffee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm at Raw Coffee. So I was actually going to pick up some microphones at the Shure supplier.
Yes.
And they just said, here's the link. And I got there and I said, why didn't you tell me about the landmarks? It would have been a lot more. So as you're coming down the road, staring right in front of you is a Statue of Liberty in front of an automotive repair place.
In front of an automotive repair place, they've got a Statue of Liberty.
And then I almost thought I was in sort of a Twilight Zone experience, because then some lady is speeding by on one of those stand-up scooters in a fuchsia dress that's flapping in the wind. I'm going, Statue of Liberty, fuchsia dress, flapping in the wind, and where are we?
Out of interest, had you just been to the Netherlands Expo?
Yes, basically. It's like, you don't have to go to Expo, you just have to go down coast.
So then I've got this plan for how we can advertise our car repair shop. Imagine this, the Statue of Liberty outside the front. Oh, that's genius. That relates entirely beautifully to our business.
Well, I did stop because I'm thinking, okay, is it made with car parts? Are there tires on it? No, just.
I could imagine for Liberty Autos, aren't they the Chevrolet people?
Yes, and Cadillac, I think.
Yeah.
But
so I can imagine for them.
Yeah. No,
but it wasn't them.
No, it was just some random named auto place, and I don't even think it was like a, Chevy, GM kind of products. It was just
too bizarre.
That's what I said, and then I'm thinking. Okay, I'm because I'm spent now a few minutes trying to figure out, why is there a Statue of Liberty here?
Yeah, right, so.
No reason. Just
no logic.
It's just there.
It probably got dumped, the Statue of Liberty exhibit. There's probably a car underneath it.
Yeah. Well, and in the parking lot were all the duck boats, the duck bus boats things that aren't running right now.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them covered with tarps sitting there. So, well, there you go.
That's right opposite the Mitsubishi Service Centre.
Oh, could
That's their original place. They tried to sell them so many times.
Yeah.
Such a shame, because that was a great thing for people to do.
Yeah. So they're just sitting there right now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Went under.
Do we have anything else we need to get to? I know we've really waffled on here.
We have waffled on.
Did we solve the flagpole? No.
No, we didn't solve the flagpole. Okay. There's a surprise. Do you want to do hanging stuff?
Yeah, I think that this whole and I really. What came to mind, and it was actually looking at your Instagram from Essential Maintenance and talking about hanging, and we've talked about hanging, shelving and floating shelves and that.
Well, the famous story for that one was when, in the very early days of WeWillFixIt, that I was employed personally by the ex-wife of a very large head of state country to come and fix her shelves, to which I obviously said, well, that's very nice of you, thanks so much, I'll send the team. No, we need you. Oh, really? Yes, the reason is we have security here, you've already been checked out and you are approved. Right, it's one of those then, is it? So I went with my own tools, etc., etc. And at that point I was met by a very, very nice gentleman who just happened to have a bulge in a place where blokes don't normally have bulges. Let's put it that way. And he sat with me the entire time whilst I was putting up these shelves.
Did he offer help? Did he give any advice?
No. He sat there and was very, very friendly throughout. He sat there with his eyes not really looking at what I was doing, but very sort of darting around the room in various different directions. I'm sure you can draw your own conclusions. Anyway, by the time that I'd finished, I was 100% confident that the brackets were not coming off. And they literally went with the traditional black shelves that have been in IKEA for absolutely years. So as I departed, I gave my usual line for the black shelves, which is just be careful not to put much weight on these because they are slightly notorious for taking weight. Go forward 2 weeks. You know those shelves that you put up? They've fallen apart. Well, you know what? I'm absolutely certain that they haven't fallen apart because the fixtures I used were well over-engineered, to say the least, because I thought you were going to do that. Anyway, I got there, and every floating shelf has a mechanism behind it, which basically consists of the same thing, which is a thin wall fixing initially, which is normally almost as wide as the shelf, with an attempt to kind of spread the load as much as possible, but obviously not very high because you've only got the width of the shelf available, with 2, maybe 3 prongs on it that are there to go into the shelf itself.
That's a classic.
Normally the one locating pin underneath to hold it on. Well, it turns out that both of those prongs were pointed at a 45-degree angle downwards, because they put their entire book collection on top of these black shelves. I don't mean just a few books. They had absolutely murdered it. So really, there was utterly no point in me doing another black shelf for them. And so, it went on for a kind of a week or two where I explained the engineering behind the situation and where that problem would occur. And finally, we agreed that they would have supported shelves, which then lasted the entirety of their time in Dubai.
But people want the lac shelves. They want floating shelves.
Yeah, because they look good.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful if you've got something light to put on a lac shelf.
But
If you put anything with weight, it will fail. And if you look in the packaging, IKEA are very open about the weight limits that a lac shelf can hold.
So they're really not an option for many, many things.
No.
Because pretty much everything has weight to it. You just don't realize it until you've stacked everything on.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, it's often over time. So initially, you remember. Yeah. And then one thing creeps on, and then 6 months later, 5 things creep on, and all of a sudden, you've got all this rubbish on the floor. You're like, oh, where can I put that? On the lac shelf. And that's how it fails.
How do you deal with the fact that, yes, you've got the hardware to install on the wall.
Yeah.
But sometimes walls, when you look at them, they look okay. But when you now start putting things on them and you've leveled it, the walls aren't exactly squared.
Yeah.
So now you've got this squared black shelf, or you've got the squared shelf with an unsquared wall.
Yeah.
It all looks skewed.
Yeah, this is a really difficult one. So that happens a lot here. So our boys will always have a horizontal shelf ready to go, and it has been set with a spirit level. Now, if they then, so they'll do those initial markings, and at that point they can work out whether or not that's going to look odd. The brief from us is, you've got to then go back to the customer and say, look, have a look at this, because it is going to look odd and it's due to your wall, not the fact that we've put it up. Which way do you want to go? And quite often you actually go off the horizontal to find a compromise between the two scenarios of the actual skew width wall with the actual what should be the true position, so that visually it looks as close as it can do to being right. But that is just a black art, and you need a customer's input in that situation, because if you were to just do it yourselves without the customer's info or input, then they are quite likely can say, oh, I've put a spirit level on this and it's out. Yeah, it's intended to be out because of the visual. No, I want it flat. So they have to be involved. Yeah, which is always a fun one.
And how many times have you had the husband weighing in on that, and then the wife taking a look, and you've come back to fix it to the way she wants it?
Twice a week. Yeah. We've got one right now.
Oh.
Exactly that. He sent a scathing message in.
Yeah.
And then what he wasn't aware of, because he was at work, I came back from work, the two shelves were not where I wanted them to be, and the two lights were not aligned as I had briefed. Yeah, that's because when you were away, your wife was there when we were, and your wife made a totally different decision when we were at your property, sir. So therefore, might I suggest a little bit of marital communication goes a long way before you send the shopping. We're still kind of waiting for that the next steps, which means he lost the argument.
Yeah, he hasn't sent you.
Yeah.
Disregard my last email.
Yes, I'm so sorry. My wife's told me never to do it again. Yeah. Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
There we go. So not only do you offer repair services, you also offer husbands some advice on.
Well, we try and help that communication between husband and wife, and we sit there as a third party from a DIY perspective to explain, to one or the other what the other one has decided they would like us to do.
Yeah. And
then hopefully we just need that button, which is they're on line 1, they're on line 2. Right, where's line 1.5? Let's have that discussion.
So we've talked a little bit about putting in shelves and communicating and planning the shelves that are actually going to hold your junk. Talk a little bit about flagpoles, We talked a little bit about, a tough mudder in your backyard, mostly the
We've proved the
zip line.
feasibility of
It's
all
all
of
there.
this.
It's all there.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get some of this going. And the fact that we need toys for big boys or big girls, a place where we can go and drive these things around and have some fun, a little demolition, break down some walls with the wrecking ball.
That'd be great.
Oh man,
If only.
it's coming. So I think at the end of this whole process, we've had a successful Essential Maintenance We Will Fix It podcast.
And there we go.
Colin Thomas is here from Essential Maintenance and We Will Fix It Dubai. I'm James Pikeway. We're going to do it all again real soon. Go back and check out some of the previous shows. You're absolutely going to love them. Oh, we talked Expo as well.
Oh, we did talk Expo. Do it, people.
We nailed everything you need to know, but we're afraid to ask about DIY and much, much more. This is the Essential Maintenance We Will Fix It Dubai podcast.